The film begins with 3 astronauts, including Brian Harper and Joe Fowler, are out in space repairing satellite. While Brian and Joe are working outside the shuttle, the 3rd astronaut is monitoring and giving commands from inside the shuttle. Suddenly, an unexpected accident occurs when a massive, dark shadow crashes into the shuttle, causing it to become unstable. The 3rd astronaut was killed during the incident. Brian somehow manages to return to the shuttle, where Joe is already unconscious. Just then, Brian sees that same dark shadow outside the shuttle again. Realizing they are not alone in space, he desperately pilots the damaged shuttle and makes an emergency landing back on Earth, saving both himself and Joe. What follows is an 18-month-long investigation into the incident. In the end, the authorities declare it was human error and Brian is held responsible. NASA terminates his position. Brian tries to explain that he saw something mysterious in space, but no one believes him, not even Joe, because she had fallen unconscious before she could witness anything. She testifies that the accident may have been caused by a solar flare or a meteor strike. The story then jumps ahead 10 years, where we are introduced to a man named K.C. Hausman, a janitor by profession, but with a deep passion for science. In his free time, he studies space through a telescope. One day, he discovers that the moon has shifted from its orbit and is moving closer to Earth. He desperately tries to alert NASA and shares the news online, but nobody believes him. People dismiss him as crazy. Casey then reaches out to Brian, who's been inactive since the 2011 incident and has lost faith in everything. Even Brian doesn't take him seriously and asks him to leave. But Casey uploads all his data and theories to the internet, claiming that the moon isn't natural. He believes it's artificially constructed by aliens and is hollow from the inside. Soon, his theory goes viral online. NASA also discovered the moon is indeed heading dangerously close to Earth. By now, Joe has risen to the position of NASA's deputy director. When the latest satellite images of the moon come in, NASA notices a massive crater on its surface. Current calculations show that Earth has only 21 days before the moon crashes into it, leading to the end of all life. NASA begins planning to send another shuttle to the moon to investigate the large crater on its surface. But by now, the news had already spread across all media outlets, causing global panic and chaos. Meanwhile, Brian is watching this news on TV. Realizing that KC was right all along, he tracks down KC's address from one of his online videos and sets out to meet him. On the other side, NASA's new shuttle successfully reaches the moon and arrives near the crater. Everyone at NASA back on Earth is watching the mission live on their screens. Suddenly, something shocking happens. That same black shadow emerges from the crater and attacks the shuttle, killing the astronauts one by one. A clear image of the attack is transmitted directly to NASA, stunning everyone. From the footage, it becomes evident that this entity is made of some form of advanced nanotechnology. Meanwhile, the moon is now dangerously close to Earth, causing major earthquakes across the planet. In coastal areas, water begins flooding in. In one such incident, a man named Holden Field ends up trapped inside a house as water rushes in. With global disasters intensifying, people at NASA start trying to move their families to safe locations. Joe tries to stop her colleague from fleeing, but he replies that NASA has kept too many secrets hidden from them. He urges her to check the old records if she really wants to know the truth. Joe investigates and finds footage from Brian's helmet camera during the 2011 mission. The footage proves that NASA had known about the mysterious entity all along, but they chose to cover it up. Joe finally understands that Brian has been telling the truth. Just then, a former NASA employee arrives and reveals that NASA had actually known about this entity since July 20th, 1969, during the Apollo 11 mission. They had encountered something strange on the moon back then, but decided to keep it secret from the world because the technology seemed too advanced and they didn't want to cause mass panic. He further explains that NASA had once initiated a military program to eliminate the threat, but due to budget cuts, it was shut down before completion. Now that Joe knows the full truth, and as the current deputy director of NASA, she reaches out to military officials via video call. The military has already decided to launch a nuclear strike on the moon, hoping to destroy the entity. But Joe urges them not to go through with it. She explains that such an explosion would completely shatter the moon, making Earth's survival nearly impossible. She convinces them to delay their plan, buying her some time as she prepares to launch into space herself with a new mission. Joe begins preparing a mission plan to return to the moon. For that, She needs Brian since he's the only astronaut who survived the 2011 incident and managed to bring both the shuttle and crewmate back safely. His past experience is vital. Due to the rising floodwaters everywhere, a helicopter is sent to pick up Brian. Joe personally arrives with the NASA team and formally apologizes to him, admitting that he was right all along. She asks for his help, and Brian agrees. He explains that someone had already predicted all of this, referring to KC, and that he could be a huge help to their mission. Everyone now watches the video footage of the astronauts being attacked by the black entity. They conclude that the black object is indeed alien in origin, built with nanotechnology, and far more advanced than anything humans have. They begin final preparations to launch toward the moon. KC uses his calculations to determine the exact timing when they can lift off, taking advantage of the moon's reduced gravitational influence as it comes closer to Earth. Now, ready for launch, they're given a large bomb by the military to carry with them, in case they need on the moon. Just as they're about to leave, the moon passes directly over them. Its intense gravity causes massive tsunamis across the oceans. In the chaos, only Brian and KC manage to reach the shuttle on time. The rest of the NASA staff and security personnel rush toward other safe zones, aiming for areas where floodwaters won't reach. Meanwhile, Earth is being devastated by waves of tsunamis, and the situation is becoming increasingly critical. Brian struggles, but successfully steers the shuttle out of the tsunami and prepares for launch. Joe informs Brian that the shuttle doesn't have enough power to escape Earth's gravity and reach space. However, because the moon is now so close to Earth, the planet's gravity has weakened, allowing the shuttle to reach space with ease. They don't even need to travel too far since the moon is already within close proximity. The crew now heads toward the same crater. But by this time, large chunks of the moon had started to break apart and fall, heavily damaging their shuttle. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation becomes apocalyptic. Giant meteors begin falling from the sky, killing large numbers of people and reducing cities to rubble. Oxygen levels start dropping, gravity becomes unstable, and people flee toward underground tunnels in a desperate attempt to survive. Back in space, Brian decides that they will enter the crater directly to find answers. As they prepare for the descent, as they descend, it becomes clear that the crater is extremely deep. Once inside, it's evident that the moon is not natural but artificial, a giant structure made intentionally. Its inner walls are smooth, almost like it was built by someone. Inside, they find a white dwarf star, a dense source of energy that is being consumed by the black alien entity, the same nanotechnology-based being attacking everything. They realize this star was the main energy source keeping the moon stable in its orbit around Earth. But now that this energy is being consumed, the moon has started drifting closer to Earth. Now, the real question arises, who built the moon and why? Just then, the black alien entity detects their presence and begins chasing them to kill them. While escaping, Brian gets separated from the others and heads toward a sealed tunnel. The tunnel closes behind him, locking the alien outside. However, Brian collapses inside, unconscious. He's dragged further inside by someone unseen. When he wakes up, Brian finds himself breathing normally, implying there's oxygen, and realizes that an alien presence is trying to contact him. Now comes the biggest twist of the movie. The entity tells Brian that the moon was built by ancient humans, not from Earth, but from a distant, advanced civilization in another solar system. These humans were highly technologically evolved, capable of building giant machines, robots, and even artificial planets. But one day, everything changed. The same nanotechnology-based machines they had created turned against them. These machines began exterminating their creators, wiping them out one by one.
In a desperate attempt to preserve the human race, a small group of survivors launched genetic samples into space, sending them toward a beautiful, life-supporting planet far away, Earth. To ensure survival, they also created this artificial moon to stabilize Earth's environment, helping regulate the seasons and climate necessary for life to thrive. But during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, the AI likely detected human electronics again and tracked their origin, leading the nanotech entity to Earth's moon. This time, it planned to destroy the moon, knowing that doing so would eliminate all life on Earth. Now it has begun attacking the white dwarf star within, the moon's core energy source. Brian learns from the alien entity that the only way to stop this is to sacrifice someone. Someone must carry the bomb to the moon's center and detonate it to destroy the AI. Brian volunteers for the mission. He wakes up and retrieves KC, bringing him back. Brian shares everything he just learned with the team. Hearing all this, everyone is shocked, realizing that the entire human race did not originate on Earth. Humanity actually belongs to another distant planet. Brian also makes a decision that he will sacrifice himself so that the human race can continue to survive. He takes the bomb and heads deep into the moon's core to detonate it. He successfully activates the bomb, causing a massive explosion inside the moon. The AI entity is destroyed, and the white dwarf star at the center is restored. With energy flowing again, the moon starts stabilizing and returns to its orbit, moving away from Earth. Brian, however, is presumed behind inside the moon, presumed dead, having sacrificed himself for all of humanity. Back on Earth, the situation begins to stabilize. People reunite with their families, and the chaos starts settling.